So Erin, the story, you were saying if we don't tell that story, and the fact is that our democracy in the United States is being fought for right now, and our colleagues in the mainstream media are like, well, there's this side and that side, and we have to tell both sides, and it's all kind of on the same plane, and it's like, it is not the same thing.
Exactly. Right. My mind is swirling just with the reactions and even the opening question. Some days I'm hopeful, and some days I'm just pissed off. I think, when we think about the school shootings, when we think about these two young gentlemen being expelled, when we think about the levers of democracy that essentially white supremacists in public office are using, and they are understanding how to pull and tug at those levers of democracy in order to create systems where voting begins to not matter, to create systems where re-election is 99% likely, and to create environments where you end up with no choices on the ballot. You have one candidate running for this office. No one is even challenging that person. So I would, as we consider this conversation around voice and democracy, so much of that is rooted in how we tell the American story. We have a very similar, I can look back at my, elementary school textbook and what you learn about slavery in the United States, the reaction to the 1619 Project, the way in which we are so unwilling to discuss the systems and structures that have been set up to benefit a singular group of people, white property-owning men, from the beginning in the Constitution. We have not had that conversation. And they are using political violence, political harassment, sexualized harassment for a lot of our women leaders. I'm sure you've all experienced it. It's sort of par for the course, unfortunately, right now. So we're in this muddle, I think, of needing actually really clear voices to call out the absurdity. What was done in Tennessee was just absurd. It actually had no policy root. It wasn't in a party ideology. Trumpism isn't actually rooted in a series of thoughtful debate about where he wants to take the country, right? It's about the feelings that, quite honestly, white men have about loss in the U.S.
And guess who's their threat?
Right, women of color.
I used to make a joke. I'm lucky I don't have to make it anymore since that man is not in power. But I made a joke that I was 5 things that Donald Trump hated, right? So I'm Mexican, I'm an immigrant, I'm a journalist, I'm a woman, I'm flat-chested. The point is to make you laugh. It's okay, it's okay. Thank you.
But I am hopeful. We see the local, and where we've focused in the US, the vote run lead is focused on the state legislatures. A couple of years ago, I had this hunch that Congress had been doing nothing for quite some time prior to Trump, and there wasn't enough actual radical policy coming out of that. There are 7,383 state legislative seats. Roughly in 2022, 40% of those went uncontested. It is actually what we call laboratories of democracy in the US, so that out of those states actually comes a testing ground for really regressive or progressive public policy. And I think the sort of feminist movement has, the progressive movement, writ large, hasn't actually looked at pulling those levers of democracy in the same way. We have the right stories, we believe the narrative is behind us, but we then don't have some of these strategic choices. And we expect some of the storytelling, I think, to carry the weight. And it has to be the combination of deep storytelling and deep strategy and deep organizing that comes together.